Hey there Titans, in this video I'll show you how to use the Titan Sign wizard with ScreenFlow. Okay, so let's first see what we get from the Titan wizard and what is everything. So we'll start with the action and then we'll build some use case. Let's go for Titan Sign wizard and this guy right there. And let's see which stuff we have. So we have the document language. So we have HEIW, which are both Hebrew, and then EN, which is English. By default, it's EN. And then files are attachment IDs. So this will receive a list of string. So in our instance, it's like a variable text collection, which we do allow multiple values. We have the record ID, single record ID for any record you want to use it on, and that's important for getting the attachment after the user signed it. Then it will upload to that ID and the tracking, etc. Signers, so we can, nothing here is required, but one of the benefits of invoking the flow is to be able to set predefined signers and predefined files. So we can use predefined signers on our Titan wizard, and template IDs for our email template. At the end of the wizard process, we let you choose an email template, either our default one or anything else from Salesforce. So you can just include your template ID here, and that's what will show up in the end of the process. Okay, so let's do this. What we will do, let's add a screen and say a lookup and say we want to grab a contact, and then we'll pull out, we want to grab an account, then we'll pull out the contact information as signers, and we'll take some record, we'll take some attachment as a file as a drop down. So let's say select account. That's an API name, so we'll do that. Field API name will be, I think, account ID, which is on the contact. Where did it go? We'll say label select account, and our object API name is contact. And we will leave everything else as it is. Now let's add a drop down. I think it's a pick list, so we'll do this, and we will say get select a file, and we can select obviously multiple files and send these files to the wizard as well. In this instance, I'm just gonna go with one. Let's add a new choice and say it's a record, and say get content. It'll say content version choice and content version. Perfect. No sorting, no conditions, and select a file, data type text, and we want to keep the content version ID. Okay. Oh, we want to pick the label for the content version, so that's the title. So the title from the content version. Okay, so that's done, and there we should have it. So we'll call this cool screen, and that should do it. So let's do save. We'll call this twiz screen and save, and let's see what we have. Okay, so we'll run this just to see where we're up to. Okay, so select account, we can get an account, select a file, we have some files. Perfect. Right now it doesn't do anything. We'll do finish, nothing will happen. Okay, cool. So our next step is what we want to see. So let's put back our action, and we'll bring back the wizard. Okay, the amazing let's say we'll call this call twiz. That's fine. And now basically we want to pass whatever. We'll leave this by default, so it'll be English. We want to get files or attachment IDs, we want to get record ID, and we want to get signers. Perfect. So let's go ahead and populate our signers, and we'll do a new resource. Now the signers are Apex defined variable, so we'll go there and we'll do signer collection, and we'll do allow multiple, call it like this, allow multiple values, and our Apex class is Titan wizard user structure. That should do it. Now we want a single one as well, so we'll do variable, and we'll say signer and Apex defined, and we'll call the wizard user structure again. Perfect. Now let's assign it. So what we want to do is, let's do get. So we'll get a record, and we'll say get contacts, and we'll say we want to get contact. Perfect. And our condition is count ID equals our select account lookup record ID. Perfect. And we want to do, we can do all records and loop through it. Let's just keep the first record we find, and then basically we can go ahead with our assignments. So let's assign set the signer, and let's select our signer Apex defined email, signer Apex defined first name, and we want to do signer Apex defined last name, and we will add the signer record ID. Okay, so we have email, first name, last name in the signer, and then we have the signer collection, which we want to add that signer to. So that record ID is equally as important as the other one, because we want the attachment to be related here as well, and the tracking object to be related to the correct object. So we set the record ID on the signer, and then let's just map it. So what we want to do is from get contacts, from get contact, and we'll say email, and here we shall say we'll say first name, and here we shall say last name, and that one will be, and we'll say contact, we'll just say .id. That shall do it, and done. Okay, so we have a signer. We want to set the after we set the signer, what we want to do is signer collection. We'll do add, and we'll say signer, just like that. Perfect. Okay, next up is just to invoke our sign. So we'll do action, we'll say wizard, we'll say call Titan Wiz, and let's add files or attachments. So that will be our So we don't have it here since we have a collection. We need to have a collection of text. So that's one thing we forgot to do. So we'll add a new resource. We'll say variable, and we'll say, let's call this file IDs, and that will be text collection and allow multiple values collection. Perfect. We can do it in the same assignment technically. So we'll add assignment. We'll say our file IDs add, and now typically if it will pull in all the contacts here, we'll just do everything in a loop and assign everything in a loop, and that will be perfect. In this instance, we're just going to make it quick just to show you how this works. So what we will do here is select a file, and remember we set the value of this to be the ID of the content version, and now we can finally call our wizard. So we'll do action, we'll say wizard, and okay, now files, file IDs, record ID is, let's get the select lookup, the account ID in this instance, signers, we have our signer list, so the signer collection, and template ID I'll leave empty. Again, this template is for the email template. If you want it for the last step, you could use it just fine. So we'll do done, and let's save it. And let's run. So technically, before we run this, what this will return is a URL for the wizard for your user to use. So what we want to do is we want to open that URL. So let's add another action, and we will use the open URL. And that's also provided with the Titan package for Salesforce. And we will say this, so we'll say here, open the wiz, and our URL will be the text from call Titan wizard. And you can do blank mode or self mode, whatever. I'm just gonna leave it empty here and save. And let's run, and let's see if we can get this to work on our first go. So after payment, let's select invoice, let's hit next, see what happens. Okay, so we have the wizard popping up, which is perfect, and we see that it jumped directly here, which is good news. So let's go back to the recipient. We see that we have this contact, and let's go to this account after payment, and this is our contact, which is perfect. Let's go ahead and go back to the configure, and we'll do, just put a signature in here. So we don't need, let's just do a signature. You know, let's put an input as well. And we'll hit next. We'll leave everything as the default, next, and let's send it out. And this is where the template ID comes in. So here you can select your template. Back in the flow, we could have set the template ID, and that will bring it here as the default template. We'll hit send, and we have it sent. Now if I'll go to my email, and I'll take a look at the email that I just got from Titan, and we can put our input here, and sign, finish sign, and that's that. Now the file will be pushed to my Salesforce, and your user will get the signed document and the tracking and all that great fun stuff. And this is how it's done.